All right, good morning. It is morning. I know it's pitch black out there, hard to see. We have a brief introduction chapter to do in Photoshop, and then I'm going to give you some homework, and then obviously the rest of the day is work time on your movie poster. Next week, I'm going to put up a sign up, and since I have most of you are in the same Monday and Tuesday classes with me, just a few extras. I'll put up both if we want to bring some food or snacks or whatever those last days. If you want to just sign up for one or the other, not both days, there's enough of you in common. I think we'll survive with breakfast, donuts and whatever you want to bring. But I'll put up sign-up sheets so next week we can eat ourselves into the holiday break. And then at 9:30 next week, we're going to have peer reviews on your movie poster at whatever stage they are. I'm not saying they have to be done then, because you have until the end of class, but you need to have something cooking by then for sure, and I would expect you to. But then we'll have peer reviews on it. We'll look at the rubric, make sure you're hitting everything, make sure you're showing your best work and doing some challenges. And then you'll have the rest of that day, whatever you need to tweak it or finish it up, okay? So that's the plan. Today's lecture is I'm going to call it a lecture. We're going to play with the 3D capabilities in Photoshop, which is crazy to think that they exist in there. 3D printers are kind of getting more mainstream. I actually just saw them for sale at Hobby Lobby or Joann Fabrics. I'm sure other places have them too, but for $300 to $500, you can get 3D printers now. So if you want to start making plastic garbage to give to people, go for it, because that's what they are, it's plastic. But it's kind of cool to do a mock-up of something that you would really want to make, or do a part, or you can imagine they have them over across the bridge I don't even know what degree they work on them in, but they have CAD, computer-aided drawing over there, which is a lot like Illustrator. And if I had to do 3D printing, would Photoshop be my software of choice? No. I'm sure there's a million better options, but it can be done, which is kind of cool. So we're just going to play around with this chapter for a few minutes and see how many times we can get my workstation to stall, which all I have to do is pick a color and it stalls. So now I'm not going to use the color chip picker like you guys are. I'm going to set it in the bottom of my toolbar because I found it doesn't crash when I set it over there. I give up. So let's just look at chapter 15 real quickly. And yes, we can do some amount of 3D stuff. So we're actually just going to do a new file in Photoshop. And we're going to just do, it says it doesn't matter, and I kind of believe that. So I'm just going to pick let's do the default Photoshop size, which is the 7:5 at high res, 300 ppi. So we're going to pick that. A little bit about 3D. This workspace, unless you are playing in it all the time, is confused. No, I don't know. It's hard to learn because we're not used to working in a 3D workspace with cameras and angles and all these different things. So just as a brief overview of 3D printing, there's a camera that we can pan around and look at our object from different views. A 3D layer behaves like any other layer. You can apply layer styles, you can mask it, and so on. However, they're quite complex, obviously. A mesh defines the 3D object. So we're going to apply, in this example, a cone mesh to it, and it's going to turn it into a cone. There's other things like donuts, and a wine bottle is one of the presets in here, so there's lots of different meshes. They also include materials, so that's the appearance. How does it look? Is it smooth? Does it have like a texture to it? Does it look like kind of brushed steel, whatever? And then there's lighting options where you can put your lights on these things. They can be and they stay in a fixed position. So as you rotate around your view of this object, the lighting stays in a certain place. All right, we are going to fill this with a blue color. So you can do it however you'd like. I'm going to go through the color picker down here and hope that it works and doesn't stall. So I'm going to get a blue color, and then we're going to do a select all, and we're going to fill it with that foreground color. which is Option Delete on your keyboard, or you could go through the Edit, Fill, and then fill with a color and choose your color that way. So take your existing shape, fill it with blue, and then deselect the marching ants. So pretty simple right now. We have nothing but a blue shape. Now comes the fun part. We're going to go up to the 3D menu item at the top, and we're going to say New Mesh from a Layer. So go drop down about a third of the way down. And then we're going to go to the Mesh presets and look at all these different options that they have. So these are the presets that they have for this. I'll let you play around with this in a second, but for now, just to see how this works, let's pick Cone. And it says you're about to create a 3D layer. Would you like to switch to the 3D workspace? So we've been in the print or the web or whatever workspace, drawing, painting. Yes, we want to switch to 3D. And look what it just made us. Anybody have any guess the dimensions of this cone? You see it on the top left where we have like a view from the top. 2.5 inches is about the, is that diameter? I forget all my things. You know, they tell you in those classes in high school, you need to know that forever. That's actually one that is helpful, don't get me wrong. And that Pythagorean theorem I've used once or twice in my life, but not much more beyond that. So there's our cone. We just made this by telling it to do this. So now we're just going to kind of look at the workspace. In our tools panel, our normal tools, we're going to pick the Move tool. And up in our option bar, at the end of all the options in the option bar, we see some symbols. And if you hover over them, you're going to see the options. The one that's lit up on mine is Orbit the 3D camera. Then we have Roll the 3D camera, Pan it, Slide it, or Zoom it. We're going to pick the Pan option, which is the one that looks like the Move tool. And then we're going to come down here. We're not going to go inside the object. We're going to be just on the edge or outside of it, and we're going to start using this and moving it around. So our object is staying still, but we're moving our view of the camera. So we can see it from almost below in 3 dimensions. We can pull it over to the right or the left. And then return it to kind of that center point where it was. Then we're going to pick the Orbit tool in the 3D mode. And we're going to do the same. We're going to come down in here and we're going to move around and we're going to see our different views. So again, this is what a lot of these software pieces look like, but they're built for making 3D objects. They're not built for playing with pixels like Photoshop is. So again, this would not be your software of choice, but nonetheless. Then take our Move tool and click to actually select the cone itself. And whoops, I went too far. I did undo too many times. Let me do that. Redo. Okay. So once we click on it, we get this widget thing inside here. And you can see when you hover over it, you get some information. So there's 3 axes. There's X and Y always, but now we have that Z axis to make it 3D. So you can hover around and you can see move on the X axis, scale along the X axis. So if you hover over some of these and you see the tooltip, go ahead and start playing with them. So by pulling on this scale on the X axis, I'm making the X axis bigger. If I did that on the Y axis, if I hovered over that, I'm just making it go taller on the Y axis. The very tips of them allow you to move it on the X or Y or Z axis. So now it's no longer sitting on the ground, it's hovering over and floating, or it's down below. Half of it is below ground, if you will. The middle widget, if you can get that one to light up, is that gray box in the center. And when you get that one, it says scale uniformly. And by clicking and dragging, you can uniformly scale it rather than just by the different axes that we were on before. All right. You can also see down in the bottom left, there's some tools. We have Orbit, the 3D camera, Pan, the 3D camera, or Dolly, the 3D camera. So there's some other options down here as well. I'd like you just to go back to, in the window, go to History, and take it back to the point where you started, where you just have a canvas filled with blue, and you have it selected. Go back and try doing that with some of the other shapes. So do 3D, new mesh from layer, mesh preset, and just kind of play around with another one of these. You can see, like I said, there's a wine bottle, there's a hat, a ring. So if you wanted to make a plastic ring for someone for Christmas, you could. I'm going to try the hat, see what we get there. There we go. So we could have made this cute little hat. If you guys get to the point, and I don't know that you've done it with Mary in Design Fundamentals, have you actually put any graphics on things yet? Like wrapped them around a can or anything? Okay. So there's ways to do that in Photoshop, and there's also an Adobe piece of software called Adobe Dimension that you guys have as part of the suite. And that's kind of feels like this, where you pick the shape, the thing, so maybe you pick a can, and then you pick the material, so you can make it silver, you can make a wood can, you can make a paper can, whatever you want to do, and then you add lighting to it, and then you actually bring in your artwork. So if you have an Illustrator logo, you bring it in and it wraps around the can like it would in real life, and then you can turn the can and see what it looks like from all sides, which is pretty cool. And then you can put backgrounds on it, you can have it be on a table. So it's a really good way to do mock-ups of your logos that we're making rather than just show your client on a piece of paper or on a screen. Like, here's what your logo is going to look like on a water bottle if you're going to sell them or whatever. It's really fun. You want to play with it over the break. It's called Dimension, and it's overwhelming at first, but just keep playing with it or watch a tutorial. We'll work with it in other classes eventually, but it's pretty cool. So here this is. Now we're going to just go through and play with a file that they are giving us and take a peek at that. So go ahead and close out. You don't need to save that at all. And we're going to open the Chapter 15 start file. And here's something that they've started to build for us. So they have a shape of a luggage tag, and then they have some type. And it's all built in this 3D workspace. So you can see up at the top left, the dimensions are approximately 4.18 inches, or they are, by 2.61 inches. So there's two different elements here. Like I said, there's the tag and the text itself. Make sure we have the Move tool up in our Tools panel on the left. And we're going to position this over the Visit Paris text so that we can kind of see that there's a 3D block surrounding it. And when the bounding box appears, we're going to click to select it, and that activates that 3D widget where you can see the X, Y, and Z, the red, green, and blue in that centerpiece. We're going to hover our cursor over the tip of the green arrow until it says Move on the Y axis, and then we're going to click and drag it down till it's centered on top of this luggage tool. So we moved it on the y-axis down to that point. Then we're going to click, or we're going to hover over the red tip of the arrow that says Move on the x-axis, and now we're going to pull it on top of our luggage tag this way. So you can't just move it diagonally down where you wanted it. You have to keep it in these 3D planes. We moved it down and then over to get on top of the tag. And then we're going to do a File, Save As, and we're going to call this luggage tag.psd. And at this point, this file is ready to print. And we have to go through some steps to output it to a format that works for 3D printers. And this is also kind of hooked up to a online store, if you will, that can print things, that understands these Photoshop files and links to it directly. I'm guessing Adobe owns it, who knows. All right, we're gonna go up. Let's click away to just deselect, and then we're gonna go up to our menu, and we're gonna choose from the 3D menu. We're gonna come down towards the bottom to the 3D print settings. All right, we now see, I'm going to close my history panel over here. On the right-hand side, we see some new properties in the 3D print settings. And look at your layers. If you thought layers were confusing in regular Photoshop, you can now see that we have layers of where the lighting is, the smart objects, which are the letters. Layers are a little bit more complex, but this top panel is the one that we're going to work with for the printing. In the Print To drop-down box, we see things like local and then some other options. Local would be if you had a 3D printer hooked up and available to use. Shapeways is the option that we are going to choose. This is an online vendor that prints 3D objects and ships them to you for a fee. If you have another vendor that you're using, you would ask them what output they want you to do. So you would say, you know, how should I output this? And they'll give you something to put in here. All right, from the printer menu, let's look at the options that we have. Brass, gold plated, that's going to be an expensive luggage tag. But you see that we have 14 karat gold, steel, yada yada. At the bottom it also says estimate price. That's because, like I said, this Shapeways is an online company that will make these for you. We're going to choose plastic, alumide, whatever that is. There we go. And it starts to show us a preview of how this is going to look printed in plastic. It shows a silver gray tag, and our text is extruded or pops up. Make sure that the printer units is on inches, which it is. Scale to print volume, this option down here, it says if the scene volume is larger than the printer volume, click on this scale to print volume. It reduces the size so that your printer can print it. So if it's too big for what they have, the option of scale to print volume right here can be turned on. Notice how our bounding box got a lot smaller, and it's a smaller file when we click on that. Well, where do we go now? Did yours change too like this after you clicked that? Details, where's details? All right. We're missing one step, but since we're not printing these for real, it's okay. The step that I lost the panel for is it says choose medium from the detail level menu. That only chooses how detailed your preview is, not the actual print. All right, then we have to export this 3D object to get it to actually work. We now need to go up to the 3D menu, and we just did our print settings. Now we're going to choose 3D print. And it's going to go through some steps behind the scene, getting it ready to go. And we're going to eventually get a pop-up that tells us that the estimated price, because we were told that we're shipping to this company and we want it to be plastic, it's going to warn us that the estimated price might differ from the final price. I was really excited about this because I thought this would be cool. I can print some hats or some little things and send it to this company. It can't be that expensive, right? Well, let's just wait and see. I was shocked.
Somebody actually clicked the go ahead and submitted they want to have to deliver like dozens to LTC of these little.
Yeah. Well, it does need a credit card, so that usually is the step where I can back off and say, never mind. Okay, so the Photoshop 3D print settings comes up. And from here, we're going to choose Export. and it wants to give it a name, and luggage tag is fine. Notice now it has an extension of STL. I don't even honestly know what that stands for, but that is the file that the 3D printers need. So when I talked to the people that have the 3D printers here on campus, they said an STL file is exactly what they need. So that's what we want. Say save. Okay, so it says to complete the ordering process, you must upload your file. Do you want to upload this now? So I'm going to say yes. You guys can or don't have to, but I want to show you what this looks like. So bring your Photoshop designs to life. This gets kind of exciting. When I saw this, I'm like, oh boy, this could be kind of fun. Make stuff here. It's already hooked up to Shapeways. Let's just do this. All right. Sign in or create an account. I did create one, so maybe I'm already logged in. We use cookies. Okay, fine. All right, I'm going to upload. And it says upload your 3D model. Choose your file or drag it here. So I will click here and go to Photoshop. Lesson 15, luggage tag, STL. Oh, and it also zips it, which makes it a condensed version. I think I might need to change that and unzip it to upload it. Let's see. It's really not that hard. It's a cone. No, I guess it's not a cone. This is a tag. Okay, getting there. Now it says select your material. There it is. And I'm going to say, what's the cheapest? Fine detail plastic. These materials are not available for this model size. Huh. I got it to go farther than this the last time I did it. At any rate, when I clicked on this, the price for it was $438. I'm like, am I getting 10,000 of these or what? So I clearly stopped and aborted, but there might be, I'm assuming there's something I did wrong, because if it's just plastic and you want one, there's no way it costs that much. But what I did do was I sent that STL file across the bridge. And look what we got. I was so excited. This is it. Isn't that crazy? From Photoshop. I'm going to pass it around. There's a texture on it. It printed that and it extruded the type. So had this bad boy not cost me $438 through this company, I would have uploaded it and tried. If you want to play around with this over Breakdown, just look, because I can't imagine the pricing was right. Again, I didn't pick gold. I picked plastic. And the whole idea of this is that they're cheap, they're easy to print. So I don't know what the deal was.
You could buy your own 3D printer.
Yeah, and figure it out. So I'll pass this bad boy around. But I thought it was kind of cool. Again, you wouldn't use Photoshop to make 3D things, but
Be careful, it's almost $500.
yeah, it's a $500 tag. You all be careful with that. So anyway, that's Shapeways. And like I said, it's linked right into Photoshop, how it works. You design it, they'll make it come to life and deliver to your door. And I sure hope that the pricing is not really what I thought it was. But there's some kind of cool stuff in here. Things that people have made. I saw a really cool, like, 3-dimensional deer that was kind of like those geometric shapes, like triangles, a mesh of a deer head that they had printed and hung on a wall. This could be really fun. Again, if this thing is $20.53, I think my luggage tag was wrong. I think I missed something along the way, but it sure scared me. So that's it on 3D. Just kind of the video and the 3D are something that if you're serious about doing them, you're not going to be doing them in Photoshop, but Photoshop can help you with them. And I think that video feature for now can be kind of helpful and fun for you for the next year until we learn Adobe Premiere and learn how to make a little bit more detailed videos. Okay, in Blackboard, besides working on your movie poster, I do have one additional piece of homework for you, and no, it's not making anything 3D. That Adobe portfolio that we looked at last week in that chapter, I want you to make one of those after all. So I want you to create a site on Adobe Portfolio. So if you follow the steps in the book on page 364 to 66, it's going to walk you through it. It's linked to your Adobe account. It's free. It's going to have your name on it. I want you to add a minimum of 5 of your favorite projects this semester, things that you've done from design classes. So Photoshop, Illustrator, and or Design Fundamentals. Anything you've done that you're excited about, I want you to put up here. But remember, you're going to export them into a web optimized format. So you're going to do the process that we did last week and make sure that you export them as a JPEG, a PNG, SVG, whatever, and that they're smaller. You're not going to upload the 25 meg PSD file. You're uploading a view of it, a picture of it in a web optimized format. Okay? So add a text caption to explain what the project was about, and then when you're done, I need the URL. You're going to have to publish it. If you don't want it out there, you can unpublish it after class. I don't know that it's, people are going to, I don't know how fast the search engines would find it and pull you up as an option. I don't think you're going to be a top 10 hit on Google just because you're out there quite yet, so don't worry about that. But it's kind of a good way to keep track of some of your projects. You will be making a portfolio site your second year in WordPress, but at least you'll have some start on it. So 5 of your favorite projects, a minimum of 5, write a little something about them, publish it, and then that URL that it gives you, which is going to have your name and some other stuff, that's what I need you to put into Blackboard in the Dropbox so I can look at them. Okay? That is due by the start of class next week, and your poster is due by the end of class next week. Yes?
Do you want to add the poster as one of those?
Yep, you sure can.
Then would it be
Well, you can put what you have so far of your poster and just say final version coming soon. I just need to see that you know how to export them to use on the web browser, that they're optimized in the right format, and that you know how to upload them to that site, which is really just trial and error, that's the wrong word. It's very user-centered. It's going to walk you through what you need to do. It's pretty simple. Okay. Any questions? Okay. If you make anything cool 3D over the break, bring it in next semester so we can look at our 3D craziness. That is the plan. So portfolio due by the start of class, movie poster review at 9:30 a.m. peer reviews, and then movie poster due by the end of class. And I'm going to put up 2 sheets if you want to sign up to bring some snacks for Monday or Tuesday next week. Sign up so we don't have like 5,000 donuts and that's all.
So you said you want to be a top 10 hit on Google?
Yeah.
I Googled myself and